There's a thread linking spectacular bid Wonder Woman and Oscar Madison. Huh? Trust me, there's a connection. It's not a super great connection, but it's a connection. Our guest today on Midlantic Racing Today, Delaware Park Today, gonna explain that connection to us. Her name is Lauren Heathcote Amberman. She worked on the backside at Delaware and in Maryland and elsewhere in the late 1970s into the mid 1980s, and has been one of the driving forces behind the racetrack reunions that have occurred at Delaware and more recently at Laurel for the last 5 years. My name is Frank Vespi. You're listening to Midlantic Racing Today, Delaware Park Today, powered by the Racing Biz, racingbiz.com, presented by our friends at Delaware Park Racing and Casino. Please like and subscribe, all the good stuff. We appreciate that as always. Here's Lauren Amberman. Morning, Lauren. Good to see you. Second time we've seen each other the last couple of days. Saw you Saturday at Delaware Park. How was your Delaware Oaks Day?
Oh, it was a lot of fun, and it was some great racing, and I enjoyed seeing the horses and seeing lots of friends as well. And good morning.
And good morning to you. Appreciate you joining me here on Midlantic Racing Today. So if folks want to follow you on Facebook, you can see her name there, Lauren Heathcote Amberman. What they're going to find is tons of pictures from I guess late 70s and 80s of.
Yes, in essence, I photographed at the tracks from 1977 till about 1987.
So did some people, I'm just curious, did some people kind of think of you as a pain in the ass with your camera and all these stupid pictures, or was everybody welcoming?
Well, the way it started is my best friend and I, we were in college their first year, and we decided, oh, let's get summer jobs as hot walkers. And so we went to Pimlico. I got a job with future Hall of Famer Henry Clark, and it was probably the best education, the best start. Such a great barn full of blue bloods. And my friend got a job with Glenn Ballinger, and we wanted to get with outfits that were going to Delaware Park. So once the Pimlico meet, I guess, ended or paused, we went to Delaware, spent the entire summer at Delaware Park, and I had always taken my camera to the racetrack to the races since I got my camera in early 1977. So this was 79, and everybody at the track was like, "Oh, take my picture, take my
Really?
picture." And they wanted to buy prints. Well, back in the day, I was using slide film. So in case anybody doesn't know what a slide looks like, here's a slide, because slide film is almost non-existent these days. But film photography's come back actually a little bit. So anyway, I wasn't a pain. Everybody wanted me. So of course I'm walking horses in the morning, and might get a chance to do a little bit of morning pictures, and then I'd go to the races in the afternoon. Sometimes I'd have a horse to walk after the races. But I had some spare time, got to know people, and then ended up taking it on as a full-time gig, and did that till about 1986. And then after, from 86 and 87, it was more of just, a weekend thing, because I had started work at a professional camera store by that time. But it was so much fun. I would, after the morning exercise time, I would walk around basically from barn to barn, hawking my wares, showing people the pictures that I had taken. they would make orders, or at some point I went to print film and I had 4x6 pictures. So I'd say, hey, here's a picture of you. And they'd go, yeah, I'll take it right now. Um, and probably at Delaware Park in, I think it was 82, was when I met some people that are like, hey, why don't you come down to Florida for the winter time? Because this was back when, uh, there was New York racing in the winter, and, nobody that was a big outfit wanted to stay up north. So they went down south. So I said, okay. And a friend of mine, we got a place. Of course, this is pre-internet. Somehow we got a house to rent in the middle of an orange grove in Davie, Florida, and spent the winter, from right after Christmas, till probably mid-April, and it was fabulous. Started out a couple days at Calder, then was at Hialeah and Gulfstream. And those are memories that'll last a lifetime. I met more people there. Too many names to mention, but lots and lots of people. And then came back home and ended up going down to Florida the following winter. And because of the contacts that I made there, I ended up going up to New York some. So I would go to Belmont and Aqueduct and lovely Saratoga. There was one year I think I spent 2 weeks up in Saratoga and ended up staying part time in a boarding house with a friend of mine and a couple days on the racetrack in a bunkhouse. And once again, just so many memories, so many people met, and it's just been incredible. I pinch myself. I can't believe the horses that I saw, the people that I met. I mean, starting from 77 when I went to the Preakness with my parents, we saw Seattle Slew, who became the Triple Crown winner. Then in 78, I got my first press pass and, of course, saw Affirmed win the Preakness and was a Triple Crown winner. And then in 79, when I was on the track, of course, we had Spectacular Bid. And of course, with being in the Delt barn around Bid, I got, and having a backstretch pass, I had full access. And so Delaware Park was an important part of seeing Bid as well, because I don't know if you can see this, but this is a picture of Spectacular Bid with Bill Shoemaker on board. This was after he lost the Belmont, and he came back for his first race in August and won, and Shoemaker stayed on board. And of course, as most of us know, Bid became a member of the Hall of Fame, and I think he may have only lost one race after his comeback, and set records at a lot of tracks, and, was a
Was a
fabulous
freak.
horse.
Yeah.
So,
Uh, so much to grab onto. It actually, so that picture of Bid, there's a picture you took after the Preakness that he won, that I love. I'll maybe track it down and run it up here on the video for folks who are watching on YouTube. Um, in the winner's circle, Ronnie Franklin, and it's from behind, and he's aboard, and he's looking to the side and smiling and reaching down, and his hand, you could just see like half of Bud Delt, and they're clasping hands after the win. I just, there's something about that picture that it's so sort of evocative to me.
I agree. And I've put some of my really special memories on Facebook, and with that moment, I won't forget it because I was on the edge of the winner's circle when I photographed that image and others. And it had just started lightly raining after Bid had won the Preakness. And of course, the infield was packed. And, this was our hometown horse.
Mm-hmm.
And, between Delp, the owners, the Meyerhoffs, and Ronnie Franklin, who was from Dundalk. And on the outskirts of the winner's circle, of course, behind the fence in the infield, were a number of friends and family of Ronnie. And behind me, I could hear them chanting, Ronnie, 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 Ronnie. So it was, it was a magical moment for Maryland and the connections.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things I think is interesting looking at all the pictures that you put up on Facebook, um, two things, but one I want to touch on for a minute. Really meticulous cataloging. You roll your eyes, but I mean, these are 40-year-old, 40-plus-year-old pictures, and you've got dates, you've got places, you've got horse names, you've got people names. Like, I'm sure without records, were you that meticulous sort of from the get-go? Is that how all this is kept, or talk about
Luckily, yes.
that?
So with the 35 millimeter slide that I showed you, um, it's a white cardboard frame. So in pencil or pen, I would take my programs, which most I no longer have, um, and I would write down the date, the race, the jockey, the horse, the owner, where they finished, or if it was a picture I photographed that wasn't on a race day, I would try to write down the horse's name and the exercise rider, the groom, all of that information. And then, luckily, as each roll of slide had gotten developed, because you would take the film to the lab, maybe wait a week, get the film back. Each roll I would number, and then within that, the lab would have it stamped, each slide like 1 through 36. So if it was roll number 22, I would write on the slide 22, and then in my records, it would be 22 3, which would be slide number 3 out of box number 22.
I didn't quite realize, like, I'm listening to you talk about this, and I was laughing when you showed the slide for a reason I'll relate in a moment. But people listening to this who are, say, in their 20s must be like, these guys are 100 frickin' years old with the slides and cardboard and all this crap. So when what, as long as we're talking about slides, as you know, Lauren, the way you used to display slides was in a carousel, and you would
Correct.
click through the carousel, and it would
Hmm.
project the image up on a screen. And when this is 35-ish years ago, starting my career, I was the first sort of big sort of public presentation I was going to make. We used to do a lot of things with slides, and so I was doing a slideshow. And it's at some conference. There's like 250 people in the room. I am just a nervous wreck, absolute basket case. Where I learned a valuable lesson, which is if you make a joke first thing, people want to laugh, they will laugh, and then you can calm down. But anyway, I get up and I click the first slide, and the slide projector freaks out and just starts clicking through all of the slides. So I'm
Right.
like, oh,
Right.
I'm dying up here. I'm too
Uh-huh.
nervous. So anyway, long, boring story. But um, the other thing that's interesting to me, Lauren, is the volume of photos that you took. There are so many, but that makes it be less, you have some obviously really good, well framed, the whole thing, but you also have a lot of pictures that are just like slice of life. Like there's one you have of like a girl or young woman sitting under a tree, and there's a horse grazing nearby, and it's just like people living their lives, and it's not staged, it's not a race, it's not anything, it's just people hanging out, or a groom with a horse or whatever. I guess that's probably only really doable if you have that sort of access that you had.
Right. Well, I mean, remember, all of this was film cameras, which I want to say very few people had. And I've had this conversation with people before. These days, because I sell cameras, I can sell you a camera, digital camera, that one of the fastest can take 120 frames per second. So if you can't get a good picture at that rate, or even if it's 5 frames per second, um, when I started out, this was all film. There was no autofocus. I didn't have a motor drive on my camera. When I'm photographing action, the horse is running, I basically had one chance. It's camera,
Yeah.
press the shutter button, advance. I got good at, I mean, I might get two shots off. I might get like the winner, and then I'd have people ask me, "Can you get pictures of my horse? I know he's not going to win." But I get a, well, for instance, um, a horse named Samoyed ran in the Preakness one year. Arnie Laskew rode him. It was Judy Zalk was the trainer. I somehow had latched on to them a couple months before the Preakness. Judy asked me to take pictures of that horse in training. He ran in the Preakness. He ran last. Well, guess what? I got a picture of him by himself. They got 8x10s and framed him. It looks like he's winning the darn Preakness. He's got, like whatever, 80,000 people in the crowd behind him. I
uh,
mean, those were the kind of pictures that, these people, they can treasure for a lifetime. It doesn't
mhm.
matter that the horse didn't win. It doesn't matter that the horse was a $5,000 claimer. It the horse is what mattered and still matters to people. But, just going back to, people occasionally I'll write it, people younger people don't understand. They think, everybody's got a cell phone these days, and if you have a camera like the digital cameras, it's hard not to get a good picture. But, I had one chance and I had
Right,
to focus.
right, right.
So it was, and no motor drive. So, and, I could look through the viewfinder. I couldn't always get it. It might be 40% of the time I'd get all 4 feet off the ground.
There's I think something that, at least for me, lends um, a little sort of extra oomph to your pictures, which is like the thing you couldn't know at the moment is, in racing terms, everything's about to change. But everything was about to change. Delaware Park would close in 1982.
Right.
A few years later, you begin to get full card simulcasting. The crowds would disappear. There's a picture you took. I think it's in the late 70s. I think it's the DuPont handicap at Delaware. and it's sort of on the clubhouse turn facing the grandstand. And the horses are coming by, but the thing that's really arresting to modern eyes is the grandstand is full. Um, and
Yes,
and that,
I always thought that picture would make a great cover for the program
yeah,
of
no,
Delaware Park.
it's a great photo, and it's just like, does that for you? Does that give is that sort of poignant for you, like sort of
Oh,
living
of
through that?
course. Yeah, like when I've been to the races lately, the past couple years, and when I've been to a particular racetrack, like maybe Monmouth Park. Went to Monmouth Park opening weekend this year on the
Hmm.
Sunday. They had virtually a full house. It was exciting to just look around. During a race, you could barely hear Matt Dinnerman because the crowd was screaming and yelling as the horses were coming down the stretch.
Hmm.
It was exciting to experience what we used to experience almost every day.
Yeah. Frank Vespi here, talking with Lauren Heathcote Amberman on Midlantic Racing Today. Please like and subscribe. Got to put in the plugs. Um, yeah, you mentioned earlier when you went to the track and you ended up working for Henry S. Clark, who uh, has an interesting distinction of training two-time Delaware handicap winners, and Ondine and Obeya. Obeya has, well, they both have stakes named for them. Obeya's stake was this past weekend.
Yes.
Um, but you mentioned wanting to join a barn that was going to go to Delaware. Why was that?
So my friend that we got the jobs together when we were at Pimlico, she stayed. I was living with my parents, and so she stayed with me, and she was living with her mom and siblings, and her house was about 25 minutes from Delaware Park.
Ah, okay. So you're going from family house to family house, and that was the
Mm-hmm.
case.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I gotta imagine it pretty different experience being on the backside of Pimlico and then being on the backside of Delaware.
Oh yeah. So with Delaware Park, the average person wouldn't know, but there's a lot of grass, there's a lot of open area. People, the grooms, if they so choose, could take their horse out during the afternoon and graze them. Um, and it's just such a much more laid back atmosphere. Many people have commented that it was their Saratoga, just a place to have a good time in the summertime, laid back, just a great atmosphere. And to blend that with working for Mr. Clark, um, one of my favorite pictures is actually not of a horse when I was working with Mr. Clark, but a gentleman named Carol Griggs, who had been a rider probably way before I was born. He was an exercise rider for Mr. Clark. He did everything needed around the barn. And there was another gentleman named Bob Vogelsang who had his trainer's license, and he also groomed horses for Mr. Clark. Well, 4th of July, I guess it was in 79, the two of them went fishing and after training hours, and they came back with a big fish, and I took a picture of the two of them grinning ear to ear with the big fish. And
Uh-huh.
that's how, people after work, there was I think a river nearby that people used to swim in. People could go fishing. People had barbecues and picnics. And also, Delaware Park had a gentleman named Jock LaBelle who was the recreation director for many years. I mean, he was there probably also many years before I was born. He used to have boxing matches. I mean, when I was there at Delaware Park for at least 2 summers, I joined the bowling league, and we had a racetrack bowling league, and we had a
Mhm.
banquet at the end of the season. That was so much fun. So there was just a lot of after work activities for the racetrack people to participate in.
Hmm. Um, what was Henry S. Clark like? What was it like working for him?
Unbelievable, because number one, of course, he was a gentleman. Number two, he's an old school trainer. Uh, Come in the morning, and of course, he's there, gosh knows, early, just like the grooms. And, he'd have, of course, once again, pre-internet, in the tack room, he'd have a board set up. I think it was a chalkboard, and he'd write down what each horse was to do that day. And he would stand at the door of the tack room. And as I walked horses around with everybody else and all the morning activity going on, I always remembered each morning you'd walk by and he'd go, "Good morning, good morning, good morning." And he would have can't think of her first name, but Jane DuPont Longer
Mhm.
was her and her husband owned Christiana's stable. And of course, I'm young at the time. I knew, Christiana's stable, stellar reputation, just like Calumet and Claiborne and Green Tree and all those names. And I pinch myself going, I'm walking around these horses that in today's figures would be, multi-million dollar horses. These were blue bloods. Um, and of course, I'm sure some of them, went back to Obeah. A lot of them were sired by their sire Cyan. But Mr. Clark, I mean, between him, Carol Griggs, Ham, the other grooms, they kind of took me under their wing. They showed me, how things were done. I'd watch them do up the horses, take care of the horses, pick their feet, clean the stall. Every groom has their morning routine. And so they taught me, and it was invaluable. But their friendship was, like I said, they welcomed me.
Mhm.
It was just such a summer that, I'll never forget, and education and experience that, um, you know, was invaluable.
Um, you left racing. uh, Did you kind of drift away from it for a while, and then?
So it was probably around 1985 that I could kind of see the writing on the wall that racing was going downhill.
Mhm.
It just wasn't the same. People didn't, not that I wasn't charging much for my prints, but things just were going downhill. And then I ended up getting married, had a son. Uh, so, and then because I wasn't making enough income by just doing that at that point, I mean, I was doing, okay. Prior to that, it was like, I need to get a real job with benefits.
Mhm.
So, and then, so once I transitioned from family to being single again, I kind of got the itch. I mean, I had been watching the Derby and the Triple Crown and big races on TV. And it was pretty much in 2016. I had been on Facebook and started connecting with a lot of racetrack people that I had known, in person. And so really started going back to the races in person in 2016,
Hmm.
and got hooked again, got the bug again. And I, uh, thank goodness for apps and all the media like your podcast and the Racing Biz site, and all the media out there that keeps us up to date on everything. You know, just to put a plug in, I like to support Mid Atlantic horses and people, and so my two most current favorite horses in the Mid Atlantic are Witty
Hmm.
and my friends, the Risers, have a filly named Slooperstitious.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Um, See Whitty this weekend at Laurel. He's in the Ben's Cat Stakes. Um,
Yep.
so we'll see how he does. It's actually a pretty good group of horses, but that's a problem for a different day. But um, so then when you came back, you started posting all your pictures online, and eventually that led to the first racetrack reunion, which was at Delaware in 2021. Um,
Yes.
and then the last few have been at Laurel, which Laurel we understand is not long for the world as an operating racetrack. But how did that first talk about how that first reunion came together?
Well, with the various pictures that I was posting on Facebook, so much feedback related back to the conversation you and I just had is people had such great memories of the horses, how they were able to relax, have those afternoons grazing the horses, have that special time. It was almost like a summer vacation, even though everybody was working. And because so many people love Delaware Park, I thought, oh, let's, every and this was 2020, COVID, nobody could see each other. So it's
Right.
2021 and people were eager to get together again. So I proposed the idea and set a date and showed up, made a banner. We had a meeting place under the big tent in the picnic grove by the walking ring. And we probably had about 10 people who were there during the day, and then various horsemen who had horses in that day also stopped by.
Hmm.
Mr. Clark's son, Tim Clark, came
Oh
and
wow.
he brought some old pictures that he had of his dad and some of the other gentlemen that I had worked with. Um, Jerry Robb stopped by, saw Gary Capuano, um, uh, just, Billy Delp and his wife stopped by. Um, and it was, it was nice, the small crowd of people that we had there that day. And, but because it was Delaware Park, and I guess a lot of people still are closer to Laurel, the next time we decided to have one, we were down at Laurel and we had it in Tips, which is the restaurant in the clubhouse. So we had the next one there. And that's when Kathy Rosenberger and I kind of paired up to make this an annual event.
Yeah, it's been going pretty strong. What's your sort of favorite part or memory of these reunions?
Well, just as a general statement, it's just so heartwarming to see all of these people get together. Some people have come pretty much every year, um, but it's just so special. Um, and it's even more special because I hate to say it, but a lot of the people, well, not a lot, but say a third of the people that I know are age 75 and older. So they don't know if they're going to be attending the next year,
Sure. Yeah.
because, they could pass away or have medical issues. Um, as you know, we've lost several notable horsemen and horsewomen in the past, 6 months, year.
Yeah.
Um, King T. Leatherbury, his suite was next to the area where we had our reunion, which has generally been on the second floor of the clubhouse in the sports bar, which graciously the Laurel management they gave us that space for free, and we've had it there. And King T. Leatherbury, it's almost like he acted like, hey, you guys are here for me. And he would come over and, of course, love telling his stories.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I know that he personally enjoyed that day because it was, even though he may have been at the races just about every day and could see people, there's a lot of people, there are people come from out of town. We had people coming from Kentucky, New England, Florida, Pennsylvania, maybe one or two from California. And, those are the people there's a lot of people he wouldn't see every day. These are people
Sure.
that would just come in once a year for the reunion, and he enjoyed it. He was holding King was holding his court.
King was always holding court, that's for
Yep.
sure. Uh, yeah, no, it's pretty neat. So, I teased this in the intro. You photographed Spectacular Bid because you were, uh, did you work for Delp?
No, but once again, I befriended so many people, and one of my very best friends, she worked for Buddy and for Richard, and also Kathy Rosenberger, ponied for Delp for many
Right.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah, just knew a lot of people in the barn.
So that explains that.
Hmm.
What about how'd you come to photograph Wonder Woman?
Oh, funny you should ask. If you can see this picture,
Not very well. What is it?
oh, there's probably a glare, so I don't know. Can you see it any better?
Sort of.
Yeah.
Is that Linda Carter?
So she is standing next to a person that worked on the backstretch. Um,
Um,
so Linda Carter came to Bowie one morning because she owned racehorses that were trained by Richard Dutrow, Dickie Dutrow.
oh
And I
wow.
happened to be there that morning when she was there visiting her racehorses.
Oh,
So that's how I came about photographing Wonder Woman.
I did not know that she owned racehorses.
Yeah, she owns some racehorses.
Um, and I'm guessing the story of Oscar Madison is similar.
Yes, so oops, upside down.
There's Jack Klugman, sure.
Yeah. So let's see. 1980, Preakness. Actually, well, of course, the horse started racing the year before as a 2-year-old in California. And I even have a couple old articles about this horse that was named Jacqueline Klugman.
Yep.
And so Jack was in partnership with, I can't remember the name of the gentleman, and the horse did well as a 2-year-old and well as in the Derby preps. And I can't remember if the horse ran in the Derby, but he came to Pimlico for the Preakness, so I was able to photograph the horse in the morning as well as race day. And the picture that I just showed was Jack Klugman at the Preakness barn.
Um, so little brushes with fame, huh?
Yep, yep.
Um, sorry, I'm getting bezoozed here. What's a from your time on the backstretch? What's a you have like a favorite memory?
Oh my gosh. um, I guess I can't really nail down any favorite memory, but I did really enjoy, as I said, going around from barn to barn after training hours. And I would stand at the head of the stall and talk to the various grooms and watch them as they went through their morning routine with their horses, grooming them, picking out their feet,
Hmm.
doing them up, putting on the various, should I say, medications. They used to use a product called Uptight to put on their legs, they to draw out the heat,
Hmm.
put them in tubs of ice. So, I got to know the horses, which, that's the main reason that we're all in it. It's all about the horses. Um, but actually, one quick other horse that I was a big fan of back in the day. His name was Gasp, Gasp, and he was owned by a gentleman named Patrick Smith, who was very, very tall, quite often wore a cowboy hat, and he owned a trucking company, tractor trailers.
Hmm.
And Patrick was very passionate about racing, loved the horse, and I would visit the horse every chance that I got, would able to be able to feed him mints and carrots and stuff like that. So it was nice just to have the connection. And I'm really fortunate that, a lot of these grooms that I was friends with, I'm still friends with today, have seen them in person.
Hmm.
And of course, the horses are long gone, but
Yeah.
um, we all share such great memories. One summer, I guess it was, I don't remember exactly what year it was, maybe 82 or probably 82. Um, I was, I would say, invited, sort of. I needed a place to live for the summer. And trainer Ronnie Alfano and his girlfriend Casey Latimer had originally rented a house not far from Delaware Park. They decided they didn't like that house, rented another one for themselves, and then basically the whole barn, everybody that worked at the barn lived in the house, and I lived in the house with them. And that was a wild and crazy summer because Ronnie won the training title that year. I mean, he was just winning races left and right. And so there was a jockey named Jimmy Mosley, and he lived upstairs with his girlfriend, Gwen. Gwen rubbed horses for Ronnie. We had John Boy, who rubbed horses, including Lady Dean, who was the stakes winner. She even ran up in New York. We had Wesley that galloped horses. We had Brenda, me, Sharon. We shared the downstairs room. trying to think, was there anybody else? It was a full house. And then at the end of the meet, we had a big party at the house, and it was a 2-day party.
Oh, wow. That's
But
serious.
going back to the slide projector, so I was never one to, party as such. So the first evening of the party, as it was getting dark, I guess I had borrowed a projection screen, got an extension cord, set up the slide projector, and had a slideshow in the backyard during the party to show a lot of the pictures and entertain some of the people that were there at the party.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, must have been quite a party if it went on for 2 days. So.
Yeah, well, like I said, I went to bed and went to sleep that night. Somehow I slept through, you know, I guess there was a fire pit, and so I guess they were kind of probably just sitting around the fire having some beers.
Yeah, some beers, I'm sure.
Well, they probably had to take a little break in order to start the next day.
Yeah, yeah. All right, Lauren Heathcote Amberman, thank you for joining me here.
Oh,
Talking
thank
about
you.
talking about the old days at Delaware Park. Good stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Next up, host Frank Vespi will talk with Delaware Park on-air analyst Stan Salton. Morning, Stan. Thanks for joining me here on Midlantic Racing Today, Delaware Park Today. So, end of last Saturday, did you just go home and go straight to sleep? You were all over the place Saturday, man. You had quite a day.
Yeah, it was a long day. We did the replay show after the last race, so I was here about a good hour and a half after the last race. But it was a nice replay show. It was cool talking about all the big winners we had. We had a record day, of course, with the handle over 8.6 million. That's a record. The record was last year on Delaware Derby Day when it was 6.3 million. So we beat that record pretty good, 8.6 million. Now we'll have to try to beat that next year or on DelCap Day. But it was a real good day. The horses were the stars. They put on a big show. We had some phenomenal finishes in all the stake races and the undercard races as well. We had some nice big fields on the turf for a couple of those undercard races. The racing office did a phenomenal job. Director of Racing Jed Doro and our racing secretary Laurie. They all did it, and the whole team, the stakes coordinator Glenn Reeder, the whole team there in the racing office, Steve Moyer and I'm blanking on some other names right now. Heather Nicely and Gail and Roxanne and Vernon Bush. The whole team in the racing office did a real nice job putting together a great card. And I think the total purse money for the day was a little over 1.5 million that they gave away in purse money. It was 1.581 million in purse money they gave away. So they had some serious money up for the Delaware Derby and the Delaware Oaks. They were both 300,000. As successful as the day was, you hope that all the purses get a little bump next year, and we try to do over 10 million. But yeah, it was a great car. Anytime you have 12 races, big fields, and 6 stake races, and a couple grade threes, you're set up to have a nice day. And it was a safe day. It looked like all the horses were safe on the track, and we had a big crowd out here, and everybody got a hat or a T-shirt. Did you get a hat or a T-shirt, Frank?
I did. Chris Sobosinski made
All
sure
right.
I was taken care of. So, yep.
All right, yeah, it was a nice Delaware Derby hat and Oaks, nice hat and T-shirt we got.
Yep. For folks who don't know, Stan was in the paddock doing interviews before races and then picks, and then he would run down to the winner's circle and do interviews after with the winning connections, then run back to the paddock and do it all again. And he had to do that for 6 stakes races on a 12 race card. So he was a busy fella. Stan, what performances sort of stood out to you on the day?
Well, let's start with the Alapocas. That was the first stake race. That was race 6, 100,000 for 3 and up, 6 furlongs. What a performance Quince Brew put on. What a win machine he is. He's now an 8-time winner from 14 starts. He earned another 60,000, so he's now at about what six hundred about 630,000 in career earnings. He didn't have the best trip. He found himself far back down the backstretch and on the far turn. And I'm looking at his PPs and looking at where he is. I'm saying, well, he's never been this far back, and it looked like he just got shuffled a little bit. And you know, he had the one hole. When you have the one hole, and you don't break on top with speed, sometimes you get covered up with traffic, and that's basically what he did. He just got covered up in traffic down the stretch, down the back stretch and on the far turn. Then he got rolling. He got rolling, turning for home. But Forest Boys did a great job, just kind of being patient and not forcing anything. She was patient, and her patience time paid off. She found room in late stretch, and he just exploded with a final kick to a final surge to get up in a real fast time. They went 110.08. That's a very fast time for any 6 furlong stake race. He ran down a nice horse in Haley's First Notion and just beat the odds. Haley's First Notion was second, just beat the odds was third. So yeah, he didn't have the best trip, but he overcame that, and he put in a hell of a performance. And he paid 12.60. He was 3-1 morning line. He went off a generous 5-1, paid 12.60 to win the Alapocas for our main man, the New England Hall of Famer Ned Allard. So congratulations to Ned and the owners, Paul Berube, Karen Lindell, and somebody else I can't see. And a great ride by Forest Boyce in the Alapocas.
Yeah, she did a really nice job. That's a horse that Ned has said you just need to be patient with him. And Forrest, he has also said Forrest fits him to a T. One of the interesting quirks is that if you hit him with the stick, Forrest told me he doesn't really go forward. He sort of goes sideways, like moving away from it. So she doesn't hit him. She just she basically said he gives you everything he's got anyway. So that hitting him's not going to help at all. So really good stuff there. Another horse I thought was interesting, Just a Touch, who won the Cape Henlope Pin over a good field. I'd say a graded stake or close to graded stake quality field. Soleil Volant was second. Vote No, the defending champion's third. Desvio, who's grade 2 winner, was fourth. And Just a Touch, Trace Messina, the assistant to Brad Cox, told me afterwards that a race like the United Nations, grade 2 up in Monmouth, might be the next start for him.
Yeah, he could be a freak. I mean, he was real nice on the dirt. Here's a horse that was second in the Bluegrass, second in the Iowa Derby. He was third in the Met Mile, and then he was a big second at Monmouth in a grade 3, and second in the Louisiana. I guess handicap. That was a grade 3 this past January at the fairground. So he was real nice on dirt. He's made almost $500,000 on the dirt, but he's by Justify, who's a Scat Daddy sire. Scat Daddy is a terrific turf influence. So no surprise that a nice Justify offspring. This 5-year-old who's still a stud horse, no surprise he's taken well to the turf. And I had to like him a little bit. I picked him second in the race. I had Desvio on top, who just didn't fire, didn't get a good trip, I guess. But I had this horse Just a Touch picked second. He showed how nice he showed how well he liked the turf in that allowance win at Keeneland. That was a third level allowance win at Keeneland. So that's like a stake race. It's $140,000 purse. You got a 93 buyer with the Keeneland win, and you got a pretty high buyer with the Cape Henlope win. So they said they're going to the United Nations next. So we might catch a little price in there, because that's still a grade 1, or what is the United Nations now?
It's a grade 2 now. It's a
grade 2 now. Okay. That's a shame. That's a premier turf race. That used to be. I mean, it's still a famous race, and that was a grade 1 for a long time. But still a real nice race as a grade 2. We might catch a little price in there. People will say, "Oh well, he hasn't beaten any graded stakes company on the turf yet." We might get 5, 6 to 1 on him in the United Nations. I'm gonna have to follow this horse, and yeah, United Nations, and then there's some big turf races at Saratoga. So it'll be exciting to see where this 5-year-old Just a Touch goes.
Yeah, yeah, no, he's clearly found a new home, a new kind of second career within the first career as a turf marathon sort. I thought the Derby winner, Big Cuddle, super impressive. That was it was just his second time going 2 turns. I really liked him in that spot. I think you really liked him in that spot, and he ran big. He throttled that field.
Yeah, I had Sovereign Law on top in the Delaware Derby, who just finished in okay third. But yeah, Big Cuddle, he showed everybody how nice he is. He's a real nice horse to win the Delaware Derby. He went off 6-5 by Great Notion, Maryland's leading sire for a long time, who's retired now. He's still alive, right? Great Notion's still alive. He's pensioned at Northview, I think. Pretty sure.
That's right. I think that's right.
But I mean, I know he's retired at least, but
Yeah.
what a terrific sire he was for what 15, 20 years down there in Maryland as the leading sire, and he's got a nice 3-year-old here in this horse. And I interviewed the owner, John Madden of Pocket Threes Racing in the winner's circle after the Delaware Derby, after the win, and he's a New Jersey guy, so he wants to go with the Haskell at Monmouth next. We'll see what Gary Capuano says about that. The horse got a 90 Beyer speed figure winning the Delaware Derby. The Delaware Oaks winner got a 92, but 90 is still pretty good. This horse got a 92 in the Sir Barton. So yeah, he's a real nice horse. So we'll get a price on him probably in the Haskell. He won't be 6-5 in the Haskell. He might be 4-1, 9-2, or something like that. He's Delaware certified. So it's a big home run. It was a nice ride by the apprentice Yetsit Hazelwood, who was riding at stakes weight. This horse bred in Maryland at Two Legends Farm. The breeders were in the winner's circle, so it was a real nice win for Gary Capuano. You know, he had a tough beat in the Kentucky Derby, but he can say he won the Delaware Derby, and he probably has a bunch of more big wins in this horse's future. Knock on wood, if he stays healthy and everything. I talked to Gary yesterday in the racing office briefly. He said the horse came out of the race great. Good. We'll see if Big Cuddle goes to the Haskell next. He's an exciting 3-year-old to follow for sure. He's posted a couple 90 Beyer speed figures against stakes company. So yeah, that was a real big win.
Yeah, no, it was. He's 2 for 2 around 2 turns now, going a mile and 16th in both the Sir Barton and then the Delaware Derbies. So bright future there. Love Your Neighbor for Stidham gets the money in the Oaks. That's a filly that had just been pounding on the door, but couldn't get through, and then finally just kicked the door in on Saturday. A good looking win for her.
Yeah, it was a big day for the locals. Yeah, Ned and the Alapocas, Gary in the Delaware Derby with Big Cuddle. Those are Delaware-based horses, and you had a 1-2 finish here of Delaware-based horses. Love Your Neighbor trains here at Delaware for Mike Stidham. Mike Stidham's got a big barn here during the Delaware meet, and of course Andy Simoff, he's always here at Delaware Park. So yeah, Love Your Neighbor, Jumping the Gun, the 1-2 finishers in the Delaware Oaks, both stabled here at Delaware Park. It was good to see Love Your Neighbor jump up and win a big race. She went off 2-1, paid $680. She's by a big time sire, Constitution, who stands for $110,000. They paid $350,000 for this filly as a yearling at Keeneland. So she was bred to be a nice one. And, she got over a case of second-itis. Sometimes that happens to horses, but she was running against, 3 grade 2s in a row down there at Fairgrounds in Churchill. So great to see her win a grade 3. And I can see a grade 2, grade 1 win in her future. I think she'll take a big step forward after winning the Delaware Oaks. She got a 92 Beyer speed figure winning the Oaks, so a couple points higher than Big Cuddle in the Delaware Derby. So that's pretty cool. Jumping the Gun got a 90 Beyer speed figure, finishing second. I thought she ran very well. Jumping the Gun for Simoff and Imaginary Stables. It was her best race by far. She went from a 78 to a 90 Beyer speed figure. So she ran her best race, and so that means Love Your Neighbor absolutely had to run her best race to run down, jumping the gun, because the Love Your Neighbor was on the outside of jumping the gun, turning for home. It was great to see Mr. and Mrs. Jackson of Lael Stables, Kentucky Derby winning Silks. It was great to see them in the winner's circle. And it'd be exciting to see where this filly goes next. Some big races up at Saratoga this summer. There's been big races all over the country, but she's just like the Derby winner, Big Cuddle. She's stabled here at Delaware Park, so hopefully we'll be able to get some inside scoop on her and see where they're going next.
Yeah, it was interesting. You raised this, and I think it's a good point, particularly on the dirt. The locals did really well. I had talked with Stidham and Gorham and Semoff and a couple others like before. And they all said, we feel like, training here and then racing here, maybe a little bit of an advantage over the ship-ins, Stidham in particular kind of said, the surface, sometimes it takes horses a time or two over it to kind of get it figured out. And once they do, they all like it. But maybe the fact that we've been training over it is a little advantage. And you said, 1-2 there. I think 2 or 3 of the races, they were Delaware-based horses were 1-2. And Chasen, who was not Delaware-based, who won the Obeah, was, I think, 1-2. So I'm not sure that tells us anything. But what do you think about that? You think that is a little bit of an advantage?
Well, it's one of the nicest barn areas in the country, I think, and a lot of people say that. It has a lot of grass. Every barn has plenty of grass around the barn, so you can graze horses. News flash to some of the racetracks out there that are concrete jungles. So horses like grass. So there's plenty of grass here at Delaware Park, all over the barn area. There's lots of trees, so that provides a natural shade from the sun in the summertime, because it does get real hot here at Delaware Park for sure. So all the trees certainly help, and you see all the trees in the paddock. We have one of the nicest paddocks in the country with all the grass and trees in the paddock. So yeah, I think it's just such a nice natural setting for horses to train in. So I think they come here and they thrive. You have big barns like Mike Stidham, who trains for Godolphin and Lael Stables, and he brings I think the majority of his outfit, his good horses here to Delaware Park every summer. And you got a bunch of other good trainers that are stabled here, like Tim Ritchie, Ned Allard, Andy Simoff, Gary Capuano for sure. He's one of our top trainers. Of course, our leading trainer, Jamie Ness. This is his main base. So no surprise that all his horses thrive here, that train here, because it's such a nice barn area.
All right. Anything else you want to touch on last Saturday's action before we look ahead to this coming Saturday?
No, that's pretty good. Just thanks to all the bettors and fans and horsemen that showed up and made it a record day, and thanks to all the horses who put on the show. It was a great day. So now we got to try to have a big Saturday. This Saturday we have 3 big fields on the turf. Races 3, 5, and 8. No, I'm sorry, 3, 5, and 7. Yeah, races 3, 5, and 7 are the turf races on Saturday. So race 3 will start off that $3 all turf pick 3. That's a 16,000 starter allowance for 3 and up, going a mile and a 16th on the turf. There's a field of 8 in there. There's a field of 8 in race 3. And then you have race 5's a starter allowance going a mile on the turf, and that race has a full field of 8 in there as well. And then the feature on Saturday is race 7. That's a nice first level allowance for 3 and up, going 7.5 furlongs on the turf. Grand Motion has a nice colt in there. Boast, fully Irish. Kevin Gomez rides. This is one of those New Jersey homebreds for Isabel de Tomasa. This horse this horse is getting added ground. He has 3 turf sprints on his resume so far. He won on debut last October at Laurel, going 5.5 on the turf in a maiden special weight. He rallied from far back that day to win by a length and a quarter. And then they tried Allowance Company last November going 5.5, and he didn't fire that day. They gave him the winter off. He came back and made his 3-year-old debut on Black Eyed Susan Day at Laurel going 5.5 against Allowance Company, and he rallied. He was 12 lengths out of it down the backstretch around the far turn and rallied to finish. It didn't break very well in that race. He rallied to finish fifth in a 10-horse field, only beaten 2 lengths. He had first-time Lasix that day. It was a big price in there, 27-1. So he ran okay. He got a 73 Buyer speed figure. Now he gets 7.5 furlongs for the first time. Kevin Gomez, he had a good week, I think, last week with a 2-win day. So the 2 Boastfully Irish could be tough in race 7.
Yeah, the Boastfully Irish is by Galawi, new sire Galawi, standing at Northview. Galawi's only win came going, I think, 1.25 miles. So this horse probably will appreciate the added ground, as you said. So you playing the pick that all turf pick 3 races 3, 5, and 7?
Sure. Yeah. Yep. When we have it, it's a good bet. It paid. We had some big payouts on it. Even when favorites win, it still pays well. I'm trying to hit it with small tickets. I don't want to invest too much in it because you get to pick 5s and everything. But yeah, I think it's a real popular bet. It's a fun bet. I love the turf races, and you get the bigger payout because it's a $3 minimum bet. And if you get live in it, you know it's 3 races, but it's 3 races spread out over like 5 or 6 races.
Right.
So you get a long run for your buck playing it. Yeah, I like it. Have you had any luck with it yet?
I haven't played it yet. I played everything I played was up in smoke on Saturday, so it was not a good betting day for me. But no, I haven't played it yet. But I got to take a look at it because I've been handicapping all these races, and some of them I really like. So are you going to single on Boastfully Irish in the pick 3? You think?
No, there's some other tough horses in there. I don't think he won't even be the favorite. The 6 Tunisian Spring for John Kirby just ran a real big race at this distance. Allowance Company, June 6th. The horse went to the front and just got beat in the final strides. He only got beat 3/4 of a length. He ran a 78 Buyer speed figure. He's 0 for 7 on the turf, but he has 3 big seconds, and he's run some big numbers on the turf. Julio Hernandez will ride. This John Kirby outfit from Parks, they win races. They're hitting at 21%. He won a big race at Saratoga last summer, I believe. So I think the 6 Tunisian Spring off that last race, so he'll be one of the favorites in there. I think he'll be tough. The 7 Fall Furious for Steve Glaceris had a nice win on the turf at Colonial last summer. Has run just so since then. Ran second on the main track last time. I think you need a little coverage in this race. The 8 Cloud Music will probably be a big price. The comeback race last April at Aqueduct after having a winner off did not go very well. But this horse had some nice wins, a couple nice wins on the Delaware turf last year. Matty Rowland rides for Mike Gorham. And then the 9 Dominguez ran a clunker last time, but this horse is a lot better than that. He ran a good second at Laurel on May 3rd, and not sure what happened in that last race. I liked him a little bit in that last race. He just didn't fire. He normally goes to the front. He found himself far back. He had another rider on his last race. He's got a new rider. He's got the 7-pound apprentice Marvin Fernandez aboard, who had a 2-win day on Wednesday this week. So this horse, you're getting 7 pounds off. That's a lightweight assignment at 114. He might be a nice price because he ran so poorly last time, but that just wasn't his running style last time. I think the 9 Dominguez could bounce back to a better effort in race 7. So I think I'd have to use the 2, 6, 7, 8, 9 in race 7. Yes, I'm looking for coverage in the third leg of that pick 3. I'll have to try to find a single in races 3 or 5.
Okay. You got any key horses you're looking at right now for those, or not there yet?
Maybe in race 3. That's a starter allowance going a mile on the 16th. The 2 Fridays with Murray for Jamie Ness looks okay in there. This horse ran third at this level last time on June 10th, so running right back in 10 days. He'll be dead fit. He has a win over the Delaware Turf. That was last July against Starter Allowance Company. He rallied from far back that day to win by a head with I guess F Martinez. He was a bug boy last summer. He's a journeyman now, and he's back riding this horse. I think it's Francisco Martinez.
I think that's right.
So he's back riding this horse. He looks like he's a deep closer. He should get a ground saving trip, breaking from the 2 hole. It's only an 8-horse field, so there won't be too much traffic. So I think he got a 73 buyer last out. There's not too much else in this race. I think he's he's the highest last out buyer speed figure. So he could be a reliable single. I think the 2 Fridays with Murray in race 3 for Jamie Ness, and then so that might be my single. Then in race 5, that's a 16,000 starter allowance, 3 and up, going a mile on the turf. Couple horses in there. Well, more than a couple, I think. The 1 Rags to Lace had a nice maiden score at Tampa last April. Was claimed that day. This horse has some early speed. Gets Julio Hernandez to ride. So the 1 Rags to Lace looks interesting. The 3 El Fugo Mas Brillante here for Mark Schumann is 0 for 10 on the Delaware Turf, and has a couple of clunkers under his belt this year down at Laurel, but he does have 3 big seconds on the Delaware Turf. He might be interesting at a big price. The 7 in race 5 looks tough. Al Rashik for Victor Carrasco Jr. Jose Batista will ride. This horse ran a real big third with a wide journey last time. 70 buyer speed figure. He looks tough in there. That horse is on the AE. So yeah, the 1 and 3 maybe if you can afford them. Because I got a single in race 3, so I'll go with the 1, 3, and the 7. The 7's I think the main factor in race 5. Al Rashik ran big last time. He's run on the Delaware Turf 4 times, 3 big seconds and 1/3. So he's 4 for 4 in the money here at Delaware. Looking for that first win on the Delaware grass. He could get it in race 5 on Saturday. The 7 Al Rashik. Batista is riding well this meet.
All right, so the All Turf Pick 3 Saturday, races 3, 5, and 7, $3 unit. A lot of ways to go in those races. Stan just hopefully spit out the winners for you and steer you in the right direction. All right, hopefully. Stan, anything else you're looking forward to on Saturday at Delaware Park?
Well, just to pick 3 and hopefully some nice weather. We were off the turf on Wednesday. We're on the turf on Thursday, so hopefully there's a chance for some storms maybe, but hopefully they duck Delaware Park and we can have some nice track conditions, be fast and firm, or at least be on the turf on Saturday. It's listed as good to start our Thursday card. So yeah, I'm hopefully looking forward to some nice weather and hopefully another big crowd here for some good racing. Where's the what's the big national race this Saturday?
I have no idea.
I think the Stephen Foster I think is not this week and the following weekend. So I'm looking forward to the Stephen Foster on the national scene because I'm a huge fan of Bill Mott and Sovereignty. I like Sovereignty ever since he won the Fountain of Youth last year. I've been following him, so I'm hoping I thought he ran well, finishing second at Oaklawn, coming off the layoff. He got beat by a nice horse, but I think you'll see the real Sovereignty in the Stephen Foster whenever that is. So I'm looking forward to that race on the national scene. But I really, after I was so immersed in our card last Saturday, and then we're right back at it this week. So I pretty much have my head down studying Delaware races, but. I'll peek up and watch Sovereignty the next time he runs, and then we got Colonial getting ready to start and Saratoga getting ready to start. So we'll have some good summertime racing. But the best summertime racing will be right here at Delaware Park. That's why they call it the beautiful place where all the big names race.
That's it.
Bob Baffert was scared to come here. He looked at the card and he said, There's too many good local trainers there. I can't beat them guys. That's why he scratched both his horses on Delaware Derby Day. So maybe we'll get him here on DelCap Day.
Maybe so. Well, I'll tell you what, at least with Litmus Test, his 3-year-old boy that he had in the Delaware Derby, he made the right choice to skip Delaware because he wasn't beating Big Cuddle. In fact, they sent him out to California to run in the Affirmed, and he got beat, so which is $100,000 race. So I think he would have got his head kicked in here. I think we're probably going to not see Litmus Test for a while at this point, the way he's been running. So anyway,
yeah, he probably needs a break.
Yeah, he's has not run well this year. So, all right. Well, Stan Salter, thanks so much. Good luck with your all-turf pick 3 this week and all your other picks. And it was great to see you in person last weekend. Thanks for having me on with you a couple times. Appreciate it. And
yeah, good job in the paddock. And yeah, we had Pat McQuinn from the Daily Racing Forum, John Piasek. He did a nice job. He liked Big Cuddle in the Delaware Derby. So yeah, so we had a good day. I'm glad you got a hat and T-shirt.
Yeah. I'll look forward to wearing them. Haven't had them on yet, but soon.
All right.
Anyway, sounds good. Thanks, Stan. Much appreciated.
All right. Thanks, Frank. I'll see you.
Thanks to Stan. Thanks to Lauren Amberman. And most of all, thanks to you for listening and or watching Midlantic Racing Today, Delaware Park Today, powered by the Racing Biz, the racingbiz.com, presented by our friends at Delaware Park Racing and Casino. Please like and subscribe to Midlantic Racing Today. You can do that anywhere you get your podcasts, and we appreciate that very much. My name's Frank Vespi. We'll be back at it tomorrow with Charlestown races today. And then next week, another episode of Delaware Park Today, as well as Maryland Racing Today and Charlestown Races Today. So we're coming at you fast and furious. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next time.